Secondary defender's a little bit of an advantage here. I think playing in the second time, playing the system a second time. And even though there's no tuner, there's Vanderfield. There's no defense. All right. Turning my mic off, and it's already on. I meant to turn his music off, even though I was kind of vibing. What is going on, Florida State family? Simulation in the 863 tribe. It's your boy POLK, a.k.a. a.k.a. the goddamn truth. We're watching the Boise State Gentrys. That should have been a pick. Leading 21-0 here in the Mountain West Conference Championship. Seeing if Gentry can make his Heisman stance. It is definitely going to come down to him and Hunter. But as always, man, hit that like button, subscribe, and share if you are new. Subscribe. If you aren't new, then you should be hitting the like button. If you come in here every week, you should be hitting the like button. As far as I'm concerned, you should be sharing the videos. You know, we did an early signing day wrap up, and I said, you know, the optics were good. I said the optics were good. I said, I said the class felt like a transition class, but the optics were good. Well, the optics continue to get better for Florida State on the trip. They have officially announced Terrence Knighton, D-line coach, officially announced the D coordinator. The coaches are in place, and they are seemingly putting in work. Odell has been officially announced to be taking another part. He has not been fired. He has not retired, but he is no longer the D-line coach. He's moving on to other areas of the program. Great news for Odell. You know, I get a lot of heat because of what I've been saying about him, but I just speak the truth, and I'm glad. I'm glad he's able to stay around the program. Whoops, I hit my knee. Stay around the program, do those things, but I'm ecstatic that there's new blood in that D-line room. And speaking of D linemen, FSU nabbed 2 4-star defensive linemen today to fit this 3-3-5 that Tony White's going to be running. And we also got some guys hitting the portal. So we're going to hit up on all of that on Noles After Dark here tonight. So grab yourself an adult beverage. Sit back. Let me turn this down some more. I feel like it's a little too loud in the background. Sit back, watch some football, and chop it up on the most interactive show on YouTube, as far as I'm concerned. All right. So tonight, I do want to go into the transfers, and I do want to I also want to take a look at guys that might still be transferring. So we're going to do that. But first, let's talk about the 2 commits that Florida State got. 2 flip. We just continue to flip stuff around here, which is crazy. But FSU is actually ranked number 9. I'm using on 3. FSU is ranked number 19th in the country after. I mean, there's no way you would have told me 2 weeks ago, let alone 2 days ago or a day ago, that FSU would have a top 20 anything class. FSU right now is ranked 19th, and today they got commits from Jesse Harold, a 6'4" forward. This is according to On 3, but somebody mentioned it in the last stream, and On 3 shows everybody's rankings. Everybody's from Rivals, ESPN's, 247s, and so on. Gentry is Gentry. Yes, someone got me saying Gentry. Yes, Gentry is going to be in the running for the Heisman. Look, I'll be honest with you guys. I don't think there's a wrong choice with the Heisman. I think Travis Hunter has, in my opinion, some moments where that goal line stand early in the year. I mean, he is playing both sides of the ball. But Gentry you have an amazing case for him too. Everybody knows he's running, and he still continues to run for hundreds of yards. Here he goes again, 10 yards a pop, right? So you're not gonna get any. I don't disagree with either one of these guys, man. To be completely honest with you, the one nod I'll give Gentry, his team is playing. I would have loved to see Colorado get a chance to play for the Big 12. They did not. That's Colorado's fault. They lost to Kansas. Was it Kansas State late? No, it wasn't Kansas State. What was the game that they lost late? Man, what was that game? Kansas. They lost to Kansas. Had no business losing to Kansas, or Travis Hunter would have his opportunity to be in the playoff and would have his opportunity to be playing for a conference championship. That's the one nod I would give to the running back from Boise. Anyway, back to Jesse Harold over here, 6'4", 230-pound edge from Tampa, Florida. On 3 has him as the nut. So on 3 and 247 basically kind of see this guy as the same. Not a big difference there in the rankings there. On 3 says he's the 151st best player in the country. 247 says he's the 146th best player in the country. So a guy who decommitted from LSU, and FSU was able to get the nod there. Jesse Harold, 6'4", 230. But first, they had got one for a young man named Taiwan Lee. Now, this guy is a big boy. Now, he is a little different. On 3 thinks the world of this young man. 6'5" and a half, so about 6'5", 6'6", 261 from Milton, Florida. Now, On 3 has him as a top 70 player. On 3 has him as 71 overall, the 7th best edge rusher in the country, and the 10th best player in the state of Florida. 247 does not think that highly of him. They don't even have him nationally ranked. They have him as a 61st edge. Yes, and then I'm not going to worry about ESPN and rivals, but he's a 3-star everywhere else but on 3. But his industry ranking, or the composite, does have him as a 4-star blue chip recruit. And this guy flipped from UCF to Ole Miss, only to flip to Florida State. Florida State keeps running down on these players. Tylan Lee. Those are the 2 big-time commits that you got here the day after the early signing period. Boise's going to blow this. Well, they're already pretty much had this game well in hand. Let's see what you guys talk about. So, by the way, let's do a quick roll call, by the way, since I got, all y'all in here. We got KCD in the building, Tyler, Vontae, Adrian Thomas, Island Boy, Todd Pope, Panama Jack, Stino Dupree, Momo, Giuseppe, Zay, Brandon, Tony, Joe, Ben, Grill Master, the Dang Bay, Peter, Lewis, Noel 850, Tevin, ML, all in the building. Boggs is nasty work, putting on nasty work here tonight. I don't know if you guys have been tracking what's been going on. High school. Chroma's playing tonight. Boggs is playing tonight. I think Zay's playing tonight. So, some high school ball on here as well. Almighty in the building. So, yeah, those are the 2 commits FSU got today. But FSU also has some transfer portal news. I got it written down in my handy-dandy notebook. Obviously, we already know Deuce Spann has hit the portal. I think he was the first one. Dante Anderson, Jackson West, Byron Turner, and Joshua Farmer has declared for the NFL. What are y'all thoughts on some of these guys? I'll be honest with you. I don't think there's a name on there that surprises me. Jackson West should have dipped a year ago, but here we are. Dante Anderson, we never saw anything from him. Byron Turner, he played a lot of snaps. Not sure he even fits this new scheme that FSU's defense will be running here. What are you guys' thoughts on? There is another transfer from a guy who doesn't even matter. I think he's a long snapper. Out of those four names, do y'all feel any way about any one of these guys? Do y'all feel as if any big losses there? I mean, Farmer going pro, I thought that would happen. Definitely thought Joshua Farmer would go pro, so I'm not surprised by that one. But as far as the four transfers go, I'm not here to say that look, man, be honest, I'm just be real with you. If I just go Anderson and West, I mean, come on. They never played for you. And when they did, Jackson West's best time at Florida State was a spring game catch, right? Couldn't play in real football games. Same thing with Dante Anderson. You never saw him in anything legitimately. Byron Turner did play a lot of snaps in the rotation, had some plays, but a difference maker, I would say no. A guy that you're going to miss, I would say no. A guy that even fits what you're doing, what you're going to be doing in the future, dare I say no. So again, not a knock on any of those young men, except for Jackson West. Get out of here. But yeah, man. As far as of right now, the portal's going to pick up steam for sure. But as of right now, I mean, that's how it's starting off. I do think you'll lose guys that you don't want to lose. Y'all know how this goes. Y'all know how we play the game every year when it comes to this portal stuff. There's going to be guys that probably hit the portal that you probably want to keep. So we're going to go over those names. I have a list of names of guys that I think will ultimately hit the portal. And that doesn't mean that all of them – let me be clear. Let me give a quick, it doesn't mean that guys that I have named suck. It doesn't mean that I want them gone. But with the change of offense and defense, specifically defense, or especially defense, I should say, I do think you're going to have guys leave the program. Along that front seven, you're just going to have guys that don't fit what we're going to be running, and they're going to be asked to go elsewhere. On the offensive side of the ball, I think it's going to be more of if you just a quick sneak peek like Gus Malzahn. We're talking about like a power run scheme with Gus here. Go look at his running backs and the type of guys that he's liked to have in the past. Okay, again, most notably, Trey Mason. Again, a little sneak peek. Like, does a Jalen Lucas even fit next year? I know he can be a weapon and he can be a guy that you move around and do things. But does he really fit? Not saying he will leave, not saying he should leave. I'm saying it wouldn't surprise me if he did. So we're going to go down the list of guys that I think may eventually hit the transfer portal. And you guys can also put out some names that maybe I don't mention that you think might hit. But before we get into that, let's see what y'all talk. What are y'all's thoughts on the current four guys that we've had hit the portal? And even your thoughts on Farmer going pro. I think ultimately, I said it before, I think Farmer actually, in a nutshell, in a box, I think Farmer actually played well this year. The problem with Joshua Farmer is I don't believe he elevated anybody else. A lot of that's not even his fault. And UNLV just right up the gut. Oh, the 20, you are slow. 20 just got walked down. He just ran out of gas, man. But so what are you guys' thoughts on all of that? Let's scroll up and see what y'all think about some of these guys. We won't miss a one of them. Momo says none of them hurt. Nope. Wish them all the best. Go be great, Farmer. Other kids can kick rocks. Too many tight ends anyway. Thought Byron Turner would be a depth piece, but Pont Rose and Tony White will change that. Already you got to see. So someone like a Tylen Lee, I don't know if that guy's a day one guy, but 6'5", 260, right? You also got to remember D.D. Holmes is a guy who I think they're going to keep. He fits the mold of that 6'5", 6'6", 260 as well. I think there's going to be pieces there along, at least as far as some of the edge or, end guys that they want to play in this 3-3. I think they'll have a few body types. And, of course, the portal is going to be an ever-rotating door there. So, yeah, I don't know if Byron Turner really fits the mold, to be frank with you. Zay, don't do it to yourself. Please don't start the conversation, bro. No one over here cares. I promise you. They're going to destroy you in the comments. Nobody cares whether you think you're supposed to be, deserve to be. You're talking to the wrong fan base when you're talking about this junk. Because at the end of the day, guess what? You controlled your own destiny and your team lost 2 of its last 3 games. Nobody cares. What's my thoughts on DJ coming back? I don't know if that's official or anything. But he's not playing at Florida State next year. I don't believe that for a hot second. All right, let's get it. I'm going to go down a list of names because I see y'all starting to name some guys. So let's do it, man. Look at that. And now they not even 4th and goal because 20 gets walked down at the end. That's terrible. First name on my list, man. Shaheem Brown. Before we get into that, I'm going to read this one. Thomas James says, I'm happy with this class considering how the season went, plus losing multiple coaches. We must focus on developing and putting them in the best position to win. Anyways, Shaheem Brown. Shaheem Brown is the first name on my list, man, that I think but you have the combination of young safeties, just to name. Like, I don't know. I think people have a sour taste in their mouth a little bit from Earl Little. But if you actually go watch Zero down the stretch after that move to safety, remember, they played him at nickel early. It was pretty much a disaster. He did not look good, did not play well at nickel. Then they moved Zero to safety. Just seemed more instinctive. Just seemed more natural there, in my opinion. So if you have Zero, and I don't think Zero is going to transfer, but again, you never know. He's not on my transfer list, but I mean, anything is possible. You got Zero. You got Kirkland, who's really a downhill type of guy, like him. Ashlyn Barker kind of flashed this year. He's a big safety, big wingspan. You still have Hussey. We'll talk about Hussey a little later. You still have him. We'll see how that pans out there. You're also bringing in guys, freshmen. You got a boatload of safeties that you signed, not safety, excuse me, DBs, whether that's Bates, Howard, Knight. I believe some of those guys will make transition to safety. I want to say you have enough DBs to where you should be okay at safety. And I don't know, man. How long do you want to keep a guy like Shaheem Brown around? Like, I get it. He was productive when he played next to Akeem Dent and Jamie Robinson. That's, once he became the guy, right? It just, like a Dang Bay said in the chat, once he became the guy, he regressed, or it seems like he regressed, right? So he has another year. Is he a veteran? Sure. Can he bring some leadership? Maybe. If he hasn't been a leader up until this point, I don't automatically assume he's just going to become a leader. But he is a veteran. But he doesn't know this defense. I mean, you normally you'd say, well, he's a veteran. He knows the defense. Well, no, he doesn't. He's going to know the defense as much as any of these other guys. So what are you holding on to him for? Maybe a new change of scenery helps the Shaheem Brown. I think Ultimately, they may ask Shaheem Brown. Ultimately, they might let Shaheem Brown go explore his options. What say you in the chat? By the way, I see some names like Kevin Noles. His eligibility is run out, if I'm not mistaken. Like, so guys like that, I didn't put on the list. Guys that I think are graduating, like Fentro Cypress. Like, I know he's not transferring. He's just gonna go either declare for the draft or he's gonna try to go pro. Things of that nature. I think the same can be said for Kevin Knowles. Shaheem Brown has a year of eligibility left, which I actually thought he was on his last year, but no. I went and checked the roster. He's a redshirt junior. So Shaheem Brown is the first guy on my list. What do you guys think of Shaheem? Stay, go? What do y'all want there? Shaheem ain't it. Miss us on that Miami college football talk. I would love to see one hit the portal. He would be a star on a G5 level. Little was the best safety. Mike isn't playing anymore. Shaheem disappointed me this year. Played soft, out of position. He can kick down the road. As far as I'm concerned, they can all transfer. We had 2 wins last season, not a single game changer in the group. Not sure what happened to Shaheem. I said Brown wasn't good in the spring game after he got trucked by Holmes. Everyone showed who they are this year. Lots of folks being told thank you and goodbye. It doesn't seem like it. Great point from Tyler. Like every time I think a guy's been in college for 6 years, I go look and somehow he has like 2 years of eligibility left. Good. I don't know if eligibility ever runs out anymore. I hope Joseph doesn't transfer. So the next name on my list, again, I just wrote some names down. I'm going down the list. Is Brock Glenn. Now I don't necessarily. Again, remember, everybody I'm going to name doesn't mean I want them gone. It's just my thought process. I don't necessarily want Brock Glenn to go, but I think if the way the year ended tells you anything, is that Brock Glenn might very well be up out of here. Plus, it's going to be very interesting with some of the quarterback names that have already hit the portal. I'm already on the Jackson Arnold bandwagon personally because I think he fit Gus to a T. But the Liberty quarterback is another guy who, let's say you don't want to bring in Jackson Arnold because you're afraid that runs off Luke Kromenhoek, which me personally, I don't care if it runs off Luke. I've also said that I wouldn't mind if Luke. I wouldn't necessarily mind if they put all their chips into Luke and tried to develop him for the next year personally. Just for the simple fact of, again, I think you really need to bring in as many old linemen as you possibly can and, just stir up the trenches and invest all in that and hopefully find the quarterback on the roster, whether that's between Luke or Jackson, because I think Brock Glenn ultimately, again, I don't necessarily want him to go. I think he's shown flashes. He's shown as many flashes as Luke does. Luke's more athletic than Brock, but he's shown just as much flash, in my opinion, as Luke did. He had his moments where he played well, obviously the moments where he played terrible. But do you think Brock Glenn's going to want to stick around? And again, moving to Gus Malzahn's more dual threat quarterback or just heavy quarterback run offense, at least that's what he's ran, then Brock really doesn't fit that. I think Luke is athletic enough to keep a defense honest. I think a defense will have to account for Luke Kromenhoek pulling or hand, like that. I think Luke is a legit, I wouldn't call him a home run threat, but I think Luke is a legit threat. Whereas I don't think Brock fits. Right? So before the Gus Malzahn hire, I was saying, I want to keep Brock and Luke and let them all compete and see may the best man win. But now I'm not sure. I'm not so much sure that Brock Glenn fits the Gus Malzahn's offense, and he might not want to stick around for that. I have a feeling that he won't. I also think if you got to choose between the two, I think Luke Cuomo has a higher upside than Brock Glenn. So I think ultimately Brock Glenn will be on the way out, especially when you look at the guy they're bringing in at high school, who's also like a mobile type quarterback who can run and do things. Obviously, you got Trevor Jackson on the. We'll see. I know he's a walk on, but we'll see how much if he can play a part. And maybe a portal quarterback. I mean, I'm not against adding the right portal quarterback, but like I keep seeing Thomas Castellanos the ball. I don't want that guy. I really hope they don't get that guy. I do not want the guy that was benched at Boston College who can't throw. Like I don't want him. We'll see what happens with that. I'm hoping that we don't. If we go that route, then I am. While I might be excited for the defense next year, I don't know, man. If we go that route, I don't know if I'm going to be too excited for our offense next year. If I'm just being blunt. So, Brock Glenn, second on the list. What do you guys think about Brock? Stay, go, you agree with me, or you think he might stay, or y'all? What are we thinking about Brock Glenn? Let's go. Let's see. Brock can go. I'll keep Brock as a backup, but I don't know if Mike wants him. Keep Brock just in case. I feel Brock's feelings got hurt, but hopefully it makes him stronger. Glenn is a turnover machine, but is Tokar still going to be the QB coach next season? Well, I don't know. They haven't, other than Gus, we don't know anything about O-line, wide receiver. Is Tokar staying going? There hasn't been a lot of clarity on that offensive side of the ball, so we'll see what Mike and Gus come up with. Ride with Luke all the Solomon money into the good old line, please. I can see Brock starting at a group of 5 team. I don't disagree with that. I can too. Wouldn't mind another quarterback to push Luke. I agree. Luke has better upside. Do we want Tate Rodemaker has hit the portal? Do we want Tate Rodemaker? I think we're fine. I think we're fine. I've talked about Mike's quarterback evals have been terrible. We have definitely talked about that. Brock can go, let him go. He might stay. He can go. Glenn can go. I feel like Brock's gonna go. I feel like Brock is gone no matter what. Brock can go. Okay, so basically everybody's like, Brock can go. Everybody's basically on the Brock can go bandwagon. All right, there's a big name here, but I guess I know all of y'all probably saw this name coming up. Patrick Payton. Patrick Payton has the measurables, obviously, that they're obviously recruiting. He kind of fits the bill from a measurable standpoint, I think. I think he could play in this scheme. How much does he want to play in this scheme? How much did this last season hurt him? The amount of money he demanded and that FSU gave up, from everything that I understand. Him and DJ were the top 2 NIL recipients in last year's kind of NIL market as far as on Florida State's team. A lot of questions surrounding Patrick Payton. Does he try his hand at going pro? I don't think so. I think Pat needs a year, but I don't know if that year is going to be at Florida State. Just didn't look engaged a lot this year. I still say they used him in a way that if I was him, I probably wouldn't be engaged either. But he definitely didn't have the season that I think was expected of him. And you got to ask. You got to ask. Does he stick around? Do they even want him around? You look at the guys that they're recruiting. These, I mean, we can just go to the go to the commits. I mean, the ends that they took in this year's draft class: 6'4", 230, 6'5" and a half, 260. Then they took a 6'4", 280. They did take a 6'4", 220. Those are the twins there. And then the guys that they're suspected to be targeting in the transfer portal, some of those Nebraska guys probably are replacing a Patrick Payton, if I had to guess. I'm torn on the I'm torn from the standpoint is I don't know if FSU's in a position to tell defensive linemen no. Like, I don't know if FSU's in a position to tell a guy who has been productive, who has shown that he can play when engaged. But I think with the way things are going with Knighton, and they may feel comfortable letting a guy like Pat walk because they know that they are going to have I think they know that they're going to have other options. So, again, I'm not saying I want him gone, but if you told me he hit the portal, would not shock me. There will be teams that definitely look at Patrick Payton will not go unwarranted or unheralded. He will have his fair share of suitors in the transfer portal. I 100% believe that. And I don't think he goes pro. I don't think he can afford to go pro. I think he needs another year. I'm just not sure to be in garnet and gold. So, I'm not sure Pat fits. What is your guys' thoughts on Patrick Payton? $11 can go. I think you're talking. I don't know if you're talking about Glenn or Pat. They're both 11. You may mean both of them. I don't know. Patrick Payton is bad culture, someone said. I don't necessarily know if I agree with that. Though, again, I can understand him not looking engaged all that much, for sure. Brock fits Gus's offense, to be honest. Does he? Can you elaborate on that, Ronald? I would love to hear why you feel that way. Or why is that your opinion? I would love to hear your thought process on that. Todd says, I think Pat will leave. What up, Polk? Keep that Cassiano away from me. I agree. Don't want him. Pat got the bag and then stopped playing. Pat can kick rocks. What up? Keep a 1% chance for Boston College QB if he gives us a good chance. I don't want him. I'm like I said, I don't know what this he gives us. If he gives us, I mean, you're never going to tell if a guy can give you a good chance of winning regardless. I don't want him. But that's just me. That's just me, Spencer. Patrick Payton, not a leader. Lack of effort. Just signed a 6'5", 215 DN. Well, I guess it depends on what website you look at, because On3 has him listed at 6'4", 230, not 6'5", 215. I know you're talking about Jesse Harold. So if you look at 247, then yes, he's 6'5", 215. So I guess it just depends on who you believe. What's wrong with? I don't know. You tell me, dang babe. What's wrong with him? You got, or better yet, go ask Bill O'Brien at Boston College, because he benched him. We want to take a. Hey, I don't know. Go ask them. We're loading up on DNs. Pat is gone. Pat going to struggle in the 3-3-5 unless he stand. Well, he's going to have to stand up. I wholeheartedly believe he would stand up in that scheme. He would be essentially the third backer, but would be rushing. I definitely think that would be his role. I think Marvin Jones Jr. is going to play a role. I think Marvin Jones Jr. is going to go back to kind of the role he played at Georgia. I don't think, by the way, he's not on my list to hit the transfer portal. So Pat would be in that similar mode. I can see Pat at Colorado. That actually makes a lot of sense. Yeah, Pat has potential, just needs some fresh new direction. I want him to stay personally because I think a new staff might give him the shot and the arm he needs. I like that. Again, I'm torn on it. That makes a lot of sense too, Tyler. I don't disagree. Wouldn't mind seeing if they can spark that fire back into Patrick Payton. Interesting to see. Ronald says Pat ain't him. I don't think Marvin Jones Jr. is gone at all, actually. But again, he's not on my list, so there's no need to talk about him. Yeah, I don't think Marvin is going anywhere. But we'll see what happens with that. Marvin will be used in a different way, but I don't think he hits the portal. Next up on my list, Conrad Hussey. Again, not a guy. Now, this is one where I'll sit here and tell you flat out, I don't want him to go. I think fans, I'm hoping the staff doesn't, but I think fans have completely turned on Conrad Hussey the same way they used to turn on Akeem Dent. And some of us stuck with Akeem Dent, and that kind of turned out fairly well. It's a hit or miss with some of these guys, don't get me wrong. I was done with Jerry and Jones. He turned the corner. So you could either be right or wrong when some of these guys. The thing is, you're talking about a true sophomore in Conrad. Okay, he didn't play well. I get all of that. But the reason he's on my list is he wasn't even listed on the depth chart down the stretch, which is probably never a good sign. And I don't believe he was on any injury report. So he hasn't hit the portal yet, but it's probably not a good sign. And again, you had guys like Earl Little step up. Kirkland stepped up. I want to see him back because I think that's a competitive safety room. I mean, we just forget, that the guy played a good freshman year. But I would love for him to stay for whatever problems they have, that they could talk that and work that out. Maybe he's just, maybe this losing season and Hussey just went off the rails and just wasn't a good teammate. Wasn't, it's possible. Obviously, I'm not in that locker room to know the ins and outs and all the details surrounding the Conrad Hussey thing. But when a guy's not listed on the depth chart down the stretch, and I'm not even sure if he was dressing out, the writing probably is on the wall for a Conrad Hussey. Again, no knowledge there. You don't got to be an insider to kind of see the writing on the wall for Conrad. So that's why he's on my list. That doesn't mean I want him gone, but I can admit that doesn't look good for Conrad Hussey. But he can go somewhere and maybe get a fresh start and reach his potential. So we'll see what happens with that. What's y'all's thoughts on Conrad Hussey? Sorry, but I don't want a 5'9" quarterback. I don't really care so much about the height. If we were running some type of traditional or NFL offense, I might agree with you, Momo. I don't really care so much about the height. I just don't want the kid. just because he looked good against Adam Fuller's defenses don't mean he's a good quarterback. I'll put it like that. I just don't want him. I appreciate you, Mighty No. Pat ain't him. Hussey's gone. Hussey has been told to leave, says PC. According to who? I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just curious where you got that information from. I'm just curious where you heard that he's been told to leave the program. You could be right. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just if you don't mind sharing your sources is all I'm asking. I really think the new defense coordinator will spark a fire in the defense. Nobody's going to be hyped playing for Fuller. I think Kirkland will start. I think Kirkland will be definitely in the mix. Most of the cancers are on defense. I'm not so sure there are any cancers on the team. I think we use that term too loosely. I'm not saying that there weren't any. Again, I'm not in the locker room. But what makes a cancer? I would love to know. Are we saying Hussey was a cancer? And again, he might have been. I don't know. Want the Tulane quarterback. Okay. Mike said Hussey had surgery. Well, somebody said he was actually the team. So either Mike's lying, PCB's not. I don't know, man. I don't know. Thank you, Spencer. My man Spencer said he's became a member of the 863 tribe. Shout out to Spencer Taylor. I appreciate it, brother.
I'm in Tallahassee, I'm with the Seminoles. I've been getting to this paper, focus on my goals. Trying to run this money up and pull up in the road. All this talking.
His eligibility, if I'm not mistaken. He's like a redshirt senior. I think he's gone anyway. Tyler with the shade, man. Tyler said it, not me. I'm just laughing. Not only do I think defense will attacking, but I also believe Pat will be able to utilize his DBs better. You're going to see both press and zone coverage in this defense. Hussey had surgery. Wasn't on the depth chart last few games. Read the tea leaves. Well, I said that he wasn't on the depth chart. You can read the leaves. Now, some people are saying that Mike said he had surgery, which is, again, news to me. I don't listen to Mike's interview, so I legitimately didn't know that. But that's you said. We just all on the chat. We just all want clarity because you said he was asked to leave the team. You don't read the tea leaves and figure out that someone was asked to leave the team. Like you said that as if you knew. So I think that's all. We just want clarity, man. We just want clarity. That's all. Did you member of the Ultimate Chiefs? Mike failed to recruit and develop high school portal QBs. Milton, Rodemaker, Duffy, Chuba. Got it. Jury's still out on Luke. Thoughts? I don't think you said anything incorrect here. And yes, the jury's still out on Luke, so we'll see what happens. 100%. Hard to judge some of these players because they weren't well coached. There may be some truth to that too. Gentry deserves the Heisman. Anyone who didn't give effort is going to be told to leave. Okay, so okay, that's fine. We're just assuming, but that's cool. Shout out with the super sticker. It's the pair. Appreciate you, Peter, with the love.
Clickety clank, the money goes in.
Oh, Peter wants the Mario. Okay, hold on. I got to pull that one up. I don't keep that one saved too often, but I got you. All right. Peter asked for it, so we had to give it to him. Next name on my list. Again, as disclaimer, not a guy that I necessarily want to leave, but I'm not sure he fits this offense. And that's Jalen Lucas, a guy who we didn't get to see a whole lot of because of injury, but he does have another year of eligibility. Again, we talk about, and I think I've already mentioned him actually when I was giving like a little sneak peek of what I was trying to say. Power run game. I'm not sure Jalen Lucas fits that style. Doesn't mean he can't be a weapon in this offense. Doesn't mean he can't be used. But I don't know. What do you guys think about Jalen Lucas? And then you talk about adding Chroma. You know they're not going to give up on Cam Davis. Makai Danzy might be able to do a lot of the things that Lucas does. And then you still have Singleton on the roster. They may very well look at a portal running back. I don't know if they're sold. I'm not sure. I don't know if they're sold on that yet. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they do with Jalen Lucas. I have him on here because it just wouldn't shock me. Again, not a guy that I would want to leave. But is that a guy? Is that a guy that you want to solely take up a roster spot just to be a punt returner? I agree that he can return the punts or you can put him on special teams. But is that like this isn't the NFL where you can make a living? Obviously, you can't make a living. Well, hell, nowadays you might be able to make a living in college football. But the point is, usually in college, you don't just have special team players, right? Guys play offense, defense, and then special teams. So I'm not sure that's a guy that you keep around just to return punts. And then Jalen Lucas probably wants an opportunity to do more than just return punts. So I think ultimately that's a guy who might look to go elsewhere. So what do y'all think about Jalen Lucas? But that is a guy that I would have an eye on. If you want to talk about one of the running backs, I have another running back on here for similar reasons. And again, I think adding Chroma puts a lot of heat on a lot of this. Not just the fact that it's a new running like scheme and style. I think Chroma's coming to take spots. Chroma's coming to be a day one guy. I 100% believe that 6'1", 215-pound freshman is going to come in and get snaps right away. So, yeah, I don't know. So, what do you guys think about Jalen Lucas? So a lot of people are saying CJ. Yeah, a lot of y'all want to bring back CJ Campbell. I don't know. I don't think Campbell would do it. I'm not sure FSU should do it anyway. But I just told you about Chroma. I don't know, man. I understand that Campbell ran for a lot of yards at FAU. What's the best defense that FAU played? I can look up their schedule right now. Yeah, matter of fact, we can do that. And I'm not trying to knock CJ Campbell on what he accomplished this year at FAU. But it's FAU. And I'm just curious, let's see, what's the best team FAU played? I mean, they went 3-9 on the season. They played Michigan State week 1. Campbell's not even the leading rusher in that game. Army, Florida International, UConn, Wagner, North Texas, Texas San Antonio. Like, again, guys, I'm not trying to be like whatever, but yeah, I don't know. No. Shout out to CJ Campbell. I'm glad he is doing good things, and hopefully he goes somewhere and does other great things. I'm good. I don't need to bring back a CJ Campbell. And I don't know why CJ Campbell will come back to Florida State just to be a part of the rotation. Sure, we could use him on screen patches as well. Speed kills in college football. They sure do. And that's why I said Makai Danzy can probably do with Jalen. Again, I'm not saying Jalen Lucas is a bad player. I'm not saying he should go. I'm asking you, does he fit? If you've watched Gus Malzahn's offenses, does he fit? Lucas can slide. Kenny wants to keep him. We don't need CJ Campbell. We need a line that can block. Jalen is a spark plug. Pass on Lucas. Gus likes small backs. I like Lucas and Gus's offense. Best team they played was Michigan State, and again, he wasn't the number one rusher in that game. I don't know if Lucas can stay healthy, but he was one of the fastest. He's definitely a fast player. Not saying he's not fast. Not saying you get him in space, he can't make guys, make it do what it do. I'm just curious as does he fit? Does he fit what wants to be done? And then I think Antoine makes a decent point. Like, you want to cut into some of the younger backs' development. I don't know. We'll see. Polk CJ had more yards than all of our. No shit. Everybody had more yards than all of our running back. That has nothing to do. That has a lot more to do with us than CJ Campbell. It's good that CJ Campbell had a good year, but I could probably go to UConn and say their running back had more yards than all of our running backs. Does that mean we should have get the UConn running back? Like, that's not saying much, Momo. That doesn't prove much. Lucas is Toafili. I'm not sure about. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that. I think Toafili can run between the tackles probably better than Jalen Lucas. Jalen Lucas might be a guy that they keep. Might be a guy that they can find a way. I'm just saying, might be a guy you guys want to look out for. Next up on the list, man, we're going to go to the defensive side of the ball. Tomowa Durage. Yeah, I don't know if he sticks around. He's a guy that left a 3-down front to come to Florida State. Now he's going back to a 3-man front. I think he has a body type that can work. Definitely think he has a body type that can work. Don't know if he wants to. It's kind of what's concerning to me that this kid couldn't crack. Like, he really couldn't crack the rotation at all. He's listed at like 6'4", 280-ish or something like that. I was saying all offseason that would be a guy that would be a hybrid as far as interior edge guy. Because Florida State needed more interior guys. Because he was kind of in that middle mode of 280-ish, you could play him as a run stopping end, or you can put him in the middle. It's more of a pass rushing D tackle. It just never really worked out for him. It never worked out for him. And I got to think that he's probably going to get passed by. I mean, they may still look to keep him. I don't know. But again, it's not necessarily a guy that I thought was going to be like a superstar. I just thought he'd play more. And he never played. He never played this year. Again, I think he fits the defense from a body standpoint. But very concerning that he couldn't get any real burn this year. And, and again, leaving a team that ran a 3 front, coming to now he's going back to that. Is that something he wants to do? Claimed he came here to get coached by Adele. Well, Adele's not doing that anymore. Is that a part of it? So another name should probably look at to hit the transfer portal. Won't necessarily be missed. I probably won't waste my time asking you guys about Durage because we don't have anything really to go on. He didn't play. He did play, but he didn't play a lot and didn't really make an impact on this football team. So we'll move on to Jabril Rawls. Now, Rawls is a guy who played a pretty decent amount of snaps for you this year. I won't say he played bad. Also won't tell you that he's like some difference maker. Hold on. My thing with Rawls is I think he just might, we talk about attrition. I think Rawls just might be odd man out when you start talking about the DB room. If we're assuming that Lester is a year better and Bates is a year better and the Ricky Knights, and then you get Howard back, well, his year probably got stunted, obviously, due to the injury, so you don't know how that works out. Then you also bringing in Zay, and you got the guy from Auburn. And I tend to think that Rawls just becomes the odd man out in that room. Again, nothing against the Jabril Rawls. Q is going to be a year older as well. We talk about Jones and Edwin, who showed plenty of flashes this year. So we've got to wait and see if AZ's coming back or not. So I don't really see where Jabril Rawls fits. I don't know what you guys think about him, but that's probably a guy that may also be asked to move along. Yeah, he's young. He's only a sophomore. Again, this has nothing to do with him being a bad player. Doesn't mean he's a finished product. I'm starting to notice a trend from Ronald. He just says the opposite of everything I say. So I'm just totally wrong, and he's totally right, or I don't know what's going on. But thank you, Ronald, for your continued insight. Again, I think Jabril Rawls might just be on the outside looking in when we talk about transfer portal. Jonathan says we have 4-star running backs. There's no way we don't have a solid 1-2 in that group. If we fix the O-line, we'll be straight. Rawls can go. Rather have Joseph and the young guys. Please tell me Morlock is gone. Morlock has exhausted his college career. Yes, Morlock is gone. Fuller's departure will expose really how bad he was, honestly. How bad who was? Morlock? I like Rawls. If AZ returns, who starts with him? Great question. I don't know. They could be Edwin. Edwin seemed to play more nickel. You could see a Lester. You could see Q start across from AZ. They'll have to figure that one out for sure. Rawls and Barker can catch a taxi out of Tallahassee. Damn. Next up on my list is DeMarco Ward. Matter of fact, you're going to see I'm just quick disclaimer. You're going to see a bunch of linebackers because we already know the linebacking room and how that room was even put together, the recruiting rankings of the players in that room. DeMarco Ward just probably – I mean, come on. You're not going to – I don't know. I'm interested to see how they attack that linebacking room in the portal. Ultimately, I still think it's going to be 2 linebackers on the field, 2 for the most part. I think Blake stays. I'm interested to see some growth from Murphy. You got Omar Graham still there. We might talk about him. FSU has a bunch of linebackers on this roster, bro, that I'll be – again, I've been pretty adamant about what I've said before about the linebacker room, and I'll just say it again. A bunch of guys in that room that probably don't play on most D1 teams. Like, if we just being real about it. DeMarco Ward is probably out. I don't know. I'm not even sure. Probably. He's probably done. And I think a lot of these linebackers are probably going to be looking for a new home in the very short future. So, DeMarco Ward out of here. What do you guys think about DeMarco Ward? Go heavy on transfer portal for linebacker. I want Joseph Shipp. Nicholson and Cryer are the ones to keep. Hopefully whoever becomes linebacker coach doesn't have a taste for hidden gems. Outside of Blake, every linebacker can go. Parrish is gonna be good at linebacker. Well, maybe. Are we just basing that off of hope and a prayer? Because that's what I heard about DeMarco Ward and all these other guys. But maybe he will be. We'll see what happens. Cryer can stay. What kind of player is the new system looking for a linebacker? That's a great question. I'm interested. Hard for me to judge because the only guy that we have at linebacker is Pritchard, who committed to the last guys. I'm not sure what exactly they're looking for at linebacker. I would say go watch Nebraska's defense, and maybe that can give us some insight of what maybe they're looking for at the linebacker position. Next up this is an easy one, going back to the D-line, but Jaden Jones. I don't think Jaden Jones has played a snap for you in like 2-3 years, however long he's been here. A guy that looks the part, 6'5", 260 or whatever he's listed as. But nothing, right? No production. Again, I don't even think he's seen the field. And with the amount of D linemen that's being acquired as of right now, I think Jaden Jones is an easy pick to hit the transfer portal. I don't even think it's a question that Jaden Jones will be asked to pack his bags and go elsewhere. I think we're getting to the point where we're phasing out 3 stars. We're getting 4 stars again. Well, at certain positions, it remains to be seen. At a position like linebacker, right? That still remains to be seen. Do you have any idea who the O-line? I have zero clue. Omar Graham starting next year? He may be. He may not. Let's see who comes over from Nebraska because continuate will be crucial. Okay. Peter says, go, please. I mean, Jaden Jones, you won't miss anything much with Jaden Jones. Like, I think most people probably is the first time they even heard that name. Tonight is probably the first time most Florida State fans have heard the name Jaden Jones. They didn't even know he was on the roster. I expect Jones to be out. Next up is another one of these linebackers, Tamir Hickman Collins. Young player. Don't get me wrong. Might have a bright future. The reason he's on my list, he wasn't recruited by this staff. Wasn't recruited by this Tony White. And again, you're not paying Tony White probably over $2 million and tell him that he has to keep Tamir Hickman Collins on his roster. Now, if he gets a hold of Tamir, evaluates him and says, okay, this guy can play for me, then that's fair. But he didn't recruit this guy. This is another one of those, the 600th ranked linebacker in the country or whatever he was. Hell, you know what? I won't do him like that. Matter of fact, I'll legitimately pull up his ranking. What did I say he was? 600? Let's see what he was exactly, just so I can be fair to Tamir Hickman Collins. Tamir Hickman Collins doesn't even have a national ranking. Hold on, give me a second. I'll find it. Out of South Carolina. Again, because I want to be fair to him. 1,070. So I actually was being nice. I said he was 600th ranked. He was ranked 1,074th in the country. Overall player. The 90th linebacker in the country. Not a knock on him. I just find it hard to believe that they keep some of these guys around. Unless the numbers start becoming tight, and obviously you still need special teams players. You still need guys to get out there. I think this is probably a guy, again, wasn't recruited by these guys. You're probably asking Tamir Hickman Collins on his, wishing him well in his future endeavors. I don't think anything's wrong with saying that. Let's move on. What do y'all think about Tamir? Y'all think they keep him, stay, go? I mean, ultimately, he's not a guy that contributed it, but he is a young player. He was literally only a freshman this year, so the jury's still out. But is it just a player that you think has a future at Florida State? Is what I'm asking. Pope, I think we have a chance to pick up Ty Haywood in February. Him deciding to push his announcement to February lets me know he might be waiting. Why do you think it's Florida State, though? I know he had a good relationship with Atkins, but Atkins is gone. Do you think it's just he wants to be a Nole? If you want to be a Nole, come be a Nole. Or do you why do you think that? I'm not gonna put a bunch. I think they get a tackle, but it's going to be the UCF kid that decommitted. I don't think it's going to be Ty Haywood. That'd be amazing, but I think that's a pipe dream. I think you're hoping and wishing, and I don't blame you for hoping and wishing. I don't know if that's realistic. They were getting a taxi together and go to Alabama State. With Mike taking on a more CEO role, it wouldn't surprise me if most of these linebackers are gone. Agreed. I agree with that. With all these guys, I would I want him if he was in the – I mean, I hear you. And Tyler makes a great point. Like, bro, to me, like he's gone. Again, I said he was a 600 ranked player. He actually turned out to be the 1,074. So I was actually being kind. Kenny says, Collins played him in high school. He looked like a pretty good player to me. I say keep him. I get it because he played at your high school. I understand it. But like Tyler said, if he was in the portal, would you take him? If you were coming off a 2-10 season and your coaching future was on the line, is that a guy you take to improve your football team? I'm not so sure. Talking about a kid that only had 4 offers coming out of high school: Georgia Tech, Charlotte, and Charleston Southern, and Florida State. No, I don't. We'll see what happens. I don't want to turn it into like I'm hating on a Hickman Collins thing. Again, it's never personal with me. I'm just going off facts. Just a guy that I think will be asked to leave. Next up on my list, man, Jalen Early. And this might surprise some people, might not. I like Jalen Early. I didn't understand why he didn't play as much as I understand why he didn't play as much or more than he did, especially when he was considered to be one of the better grading offensive linemen when he did play. I think the move away from Atkins, not only we saw the ripple effect it had in recruiting. We lost everybody but Mario Nash on that offensive line as far as recruiting goes. We lost all of them except for Mario Nash. I think you'll see some on the actual team as well. I think Early might be a product of that. Again, what he did wasn't really playing when Atkins was here. Early's a guy that I would love to keep personally. Like I don't know if he's a guard. I think he's more of a guard. I don't think he should be playing tackle. Gus likes some athletic guards. So I think he can move him inside and he'd be pretty good. But does he want to play for Gus or not? How's he feel about the Atkins firing? Again, he was a guy who wasn't consistently used. Like, I think there's a chance you see some turnover on that O-line as a lot of the guys just didn't play well. Jalen Early wasn't one of the guys that didn't play well. It just wouldn't shock me if he leaves. Again, my list isn't compiled of guys that I want to leave. I got to say that again because everybody's like, Early. You want Early? No, I don't want Early to leave. These are guys that I think might be asked to hit, or might not even be asked. Early might not just want to be there because his coach isn't there anymore. So that's probably one of the O linemen that I would circle. What do y'all think about Jalen Early? I think ultimately, if you're Gus Malzahn, you want to keep him. Because you want to say, oh, that's a promising young player that did show flashes of being good. Yes, he had some bad snaps, but hell, the whole O-line was bad. But he also played well at times. Can we put him at guard? What can we do with him there? I think Jalen Early is a potential keeper, but I also think he's a potential transfer. So what do y'all think about Jalen Early? He says, I haven't heard of half of these names. Haywood wants big money. Well, then he probably ain't coming here. But he might come here. Who knows? I don't think that. I don't know where Panama heard that from, or if that's just his own internal gut speaking. I don't think FSU's in the mix for that. But that's just me. That's just me. Well, that was initially what was thought, that Herb Ham was going to come with them. I would say the longer that goes on and they don't announce Herb, I would say the less likely it is that they are actually bringing him on and that they're going to go in a different route for offensive line. So you see how quick it was? Tony White, Terrence Knighton. Like, that was almost immediate. It didn't take long for us to get Knighton in here after getting a defensive coordinator. But for some reason, Gus was hired before White, and they still haven't found an O-line coach, which tells me it's probably not Herb Ham. Joe says this is Early's year. Ronald says Early has to stay. Early and Armello should be dominating this season. I hope Early stays. I just hope Atkins hasn't poisoned the well with these young O-linemen. That's another great point from Tyler. I want to actually expound on this point that Tyler just made. I want to get everybody else's thoughts. I want you to actually read what he said. And we're talking about Jalen Early and some of these other guys that Atkins has had. What if these guys have just been poisoned? What if they've been coached into such bad technique? Like, what if there is no improving Armella, Early, whoever, Otto, like whoever? Like, what if the only hope is just new blood in that offensive line? What are y'all's thoughts on that? I'm not saying that's the case, but I think it's an interesting to think about. I mean, we watch guys regress so poorly this year on the offensive line that it's like I had a hard time explaining it during the season. Like I said, I think guys were legitimately betting on games and throwing games purposely, because that's the only logical explanation I had for how terrible that offensive line looked. You would literally watch Terrence Ferguson line up over a defensive lineman and not touch him as they just ran right past him. Like, that's legitimately what we were seeing week in and week out. Is that fixable? Or do they just need to cut bait and get new blood in here? What are y'all thoughts on that? Not impressed with Early. Atkins is not at UF. Why do y'all keep saying that? That guy is not Alex Atkins, man. That the pitcher. What are y'all talking about? Where do y'all get y'all's information from? He was not. That was not. Now, it did look like him. I know we want to think that all big black men with beards look alike, but that was not Alex Atkins. Jesus Christ. Yeah, man, you guys are crazy. Han might get the UCF job. I heard UCF trying to get your boy Lincoln Riley, which is actually crazy. No, they're both would be juniors next year. Redshirt juniors, but juniors. Yes, Byers is graduating. He's gone. Williams says, cut bait, get with the new. Yeah, I mean, again, I thought Tyler brought up a good point. He got a twin then. Yeah, I mean, again, all big black men with beards, I get it. They look alike, but that wasn't Atkins. But I hear you. Bringing the new blood. Okay. Good point from Tyler. Let's move on. This is another linebacker, guys. This is Jaden Parrish. I think I saw his name pop up earlier, and somebody said he's a good player and would be a good player for you. Maybe he will be, but I stand on the point. A lot of these linebackers, guys. We talk about getting new blood in the O-line room. Man, a lot of these linebackers, again, they wouldn't be recruited. Jaden Parrish out of Delray, 6'1", 215. Well, let's play the guess his ranking game again. What do y'all think? Ranked 700th nationally. That's another one of these linebackers. Again, it's not a knock on Jaden. He's a freshman. He's a young player. I get all of that. Wasn't recruited by this staff. I'm not so sure he's going to fit what these guys are looking at. Might end up being a great player. Maybe you should take the FAU, FIU route, go down there, show what you can do, and it works for you. But I'm pretty sure this is another guy that will just be asked to move along. Again, 700th ranked player in the country. Take it from what you will. I don't recall seeing Parrish on the field this year. He may have. It is what it is there. That's a guy that I think. Again, if you're a linebacker on this team, not named, probably Blake Nicholson, maybe Cryer, you're probably going to – there's a good chance you won't be on this team next year if we're just being bluntly honest. You say you clean house. Good luck to you, Jaden. I mean, it just, again, not a knock on any of these guys. It's just a fact of it. Here's a guy who I think actually has shown flashes. At least he's shown flashes down the stretch. The problem with this guy is measurables. I don't know if he fits the scheme. That's Aaron Hester, man. I thought they might move on from Aaron Hester last year, but they didn't. Aaron had a pretty good spring, but for whatever reason, didn't play much during the season. Down the stretch, however, he did play a little bit more, and he had some flashes. The problem is Aaron Hester is listed at like 6'2", which is probably closer to 6'1", and like 240 pounds, which may be closer to 230-something. I actually think he has a quick first step. I think he's pretty explosive to a degree. But 6'1", and you look at what they're bringing in and how, did Nebraska have a 6'1" edge guy in that defense? Again, not a knock on Aaron Hester, just another guy that probably does not fit what's going to be asked in this defense. So he's probably a guy who will go somewhere and find a defense that actually fits his, skill set. Because I'm not so sure this Tony White defense is going to be friendly to Aaron Hester. What are y'all's thoughts on Aaron Hester? Hester made tackles every time he got in. Mark Cristobal will be great O-line / recruiter for FSU. Hester will be better in – you think he'll be better in this new system. So Peter thinks Hester will stick around and be better in this new system. Okay. Anybody else think Hester on the ins or outs? I think they will groom the twins to play linebacker. That kind of – well, one of them for sure. I don't know. The other one's a little bigger. The other one's a little bigger. I'm not sure which one. Let me see real quick. One of them is like a legit 240. I think – is it Daryl? Yeah. Well, Daryl's 220. Mandrill's 210, which doesn't sound like a big difference. I think 247 has Daryl listed at a bigger size than that. Yeah, 247 has the man listed at 240. So I don't know how big they really are. You could be right though. You could be right. I like Hester. Byers was being played out of position. Okay, we're still talking about O-line. We're not talking about O-line. We're talking about Aaron Hester. But from what I see, man, most of y'all want to keep Aaron Hester. So okay, we'll see what happens with that. He's gonna stay on my list, but we'll see what happens. Back to the O-line. I think this might actually be the first O-line. This is the first O-line guy I mentioned. But by the way he played last year, to be frank, no, this is the second O-lineman I mentioned. I talked about Jalen earlier. The way he played last year, it's hard for me to see them bringing him back. And that's TJ Ferguson. I never in a million years did I expect that kid to play that terrible. I knew 63 was bad. I told y'all 63 was bad before he ever played a snap at Florida State. It didn't take me long to watch 63 and say, he can't play. Told y'all that. In the spring. Go check the tape. Last year, not the spring that passed for 2024, spring of 2023, I told you Byers don't look like he can play at this school. And it turned out that way pretty much. TJ Ferguson probably was worse in every facet of football. TJ Ferguson might be the worst Florida State player I've ever seen. And I don't even say that lightly because I have a special place in my heart for Corey Magnan. I have a special place in my heart for that dude because he was god-awful. But Ferguson was bad. And there's no way I see him coming back. There's no way I see him coming back. Again, he's one of the guys that I'm talking about where he just couldn't put hand. Guys just blew past him. Like, I think Ferguson will be asked to pack his bags, go back to Bama or somewhere. I don't know. But TJ Ferguson, and I did not see it coming from TJ Ferguson. I did not think he was going to be that terrible, but he was absolutely atrocious. I don't know if that's to blame Ferguson. I don't know if I'm blaming Alex Atkins there. I don't know who's to blame. But ultimately, Ferguson, you got to pack your bags. You got to go. I'm not even sure this one's a question. I'm pretty sure everybody in the chat's going to say Ferguson's out of here because I don't know how you can justify keeping him on the team. But let's see what y'all talking about. The new scheme may have players before. I mean, that's true, Varnell. You're not wrong. You're not wrong, right? Different running. Different run scheme. It may fit. I don't know if you're talking about necessarily Ferguson or just in general. And even with some of the defensive players, right? Sure. Jonathan, I was really joking, but when I thought about it, it would be a perfect fit for Mario. The defense has talent the way Mike feels he can turn it around immediately. Okay. TJ Ferguson sucks. He's gone. Cryer was upset. Cryer did put a tweet out. I don't know if it was much of being upset. I think Cryer knew the writing was on. If you're a linebacker in that room and you didn't see the writing on the wall that Randy was gone by week 2, like I was telling y'all, and everybody was like, oh, my God, Randy's going to be the new coordinator. I said, no. They just need a guy to call the defense in the meantime. They didn't fire Adam Fuller to hire Randy Shannon. And everybody was panicking. Yeah, there's no way that they didn't know Randy was gone. So I don't think Cryer is like going to leave because of Randy Shannon. Or maybe he does. TJ just came for that honey fried chicken. He came for something because it wasn't play football. Ferguson was horrible. Ferguson was actually decent. We did not watch the same team. Brandon, you're just that's a troll. That's a troll. That we did not watch the same team, my friend. How did he come from Bama? Ferg was trash. Bama was probably glad he left. Jonathan's laughing at you, Brandon, because that was ridiculous. Decent at watches defenders roll by him. Complete bust. Ferguson is trash. I'm thinking of the guy from – so you're thinking of Richie Leonard, not Terrence Ferguson. Richie Leonard was good when he was healthy. He was solid. Jonathan said some of y'all just say stuff. Roydell's trash. You know, I didn't put Roydell on here because I don't know. I know he got hurt. I don't know if he was hurt enough to salvage it because he's a senior, but he was only a senior. He wasn't a redshirt senior. If they give him a red shirt, he has another year. If it's announced that he has another year, I'll put him on this list because I don't want Roydell back either. But I don't know if he's coming back or not, so I didn't put him on this list. Juwan Williams was pretty bad too. You know what? I forgot about that name, but now you mention it. He was pretty bad too. I think Ferguson was worse. I think Ferguson might have been worse, but Juwan was pretty bad as well. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Why would Tony White offer him a role to linebacker coach when Tony White coaches linebackers? Plus, in his previous job, he was the co-defensive coordinator. I don't think Randy did not think he was going to be offered the job. I don't believe that. If he did, then he's delusional. Now, granted, I don't know what conversations was had behind closed doors. I don't know if Mike Norvell lied to him. But there's no way. Like, there's no way. We might miss DJU, Jerry Jones. I think I told you this on the last stream when you popped in here. Retire. Go. No. What are you talking about? All right, let's keep on. Let's keep it pushing. Another O-lineman. We're going to stay with O-line here and go to Bryson Estes. This is another guy who some people probably even forgot this guy was on the roster, but he is on the roster. With his, I think that, so the concerning thing about Estes was how terrible the O-line was, and that's not a guy that they ever tried out at guard. They never tried him at center, which as bad as Maurice played. I think that's very concerning if you were counting on Estes to maybe one day hit the rotation, which at one point in his career, I thought maybe he would. The fact that with as terrible as TJ Ferguson was, Bryson Estes couldn't get a couple snaps. Like the same thing can be said about Julian Armella. But Julian's actually not on my list. I think what Julian did at the end of that Gator game, I don't think he transfers. That's just me. Anyway, but Bryson Estes, I think the writing's on the wall with that. Again, as bad as the O-line was, and you could never get Estes on the field, that's concerning to me. As far as I'm concerned, Estes is probably going to be, if anything, he's going to want to leave, you know, if not just be flat out ass to get on up out of here. So, by the way, Boise State did secure them a playoff spot and maybe a first round bye. I'm going to be rooting for Boise State come playoff time. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, any thoughts on Bryson Estes before we move on? No, there's a couple players I can judge. Byers is one of them. Ferguson is one of them. Maurice Smith is one of them, and Darius is one of them. And Darius is Darius is easily the biggest disappointment on that offensive line, because there's no justification for what happened. Unless you're telling me that Darius got an injury that they never disclosed and he tried to play through that, which I don't like making that excuse, because as far as I'm concerned, when you're on the field, I don't want to hear about injuries. Are you hurt or are you injured, right? Because everybody plays hurt, but are you injured? I don't like use that as an excuse, because if you're on the field, I gotta judge what I see. There's no excuse for Darius to have to regress to the degree that he regressed. Him and Byers hung out too much in the offseason or something. Something happened there. So there's that. Estes was in Mike's first class too. That's wild. Can't believe he still has eligibility. Yeah. And he should go find another place to play football. Estes is gone. By default, I believe Estes stays. Basically, you're saying you think just the fact that they need bodies, you think they keep Estes around. Possibly. Well, Ahmad, you missed it, but we'll see what happens with Shaheem. I think he will be out of here. Oh, okay. I got you, Joe. I got you. What up, Terrell? All All right. So a lot of people think, other than Ronald, I don't think he's saying that Estes should stay. I just think he said by default, basically meaning they got to field bodies, got to have some depth, keep Estes around. That makes some sense. But I think you do have young players on that offensive line: Jonathan Daniels, Manasseh, Ty Hilton, like guys that can probably do what Estes is doing, which is essentially sitting on the bench. So I understand the point, but maybe those other younger guys take Estes's role and you move him out. So we'll see what happens. Next up on my list, this is a no-brainer for most people. Matter of fact, I'll just combine these next two guys because they're both tight ends. Brian Courtney and Jarrell Powers. First of all, with Landon Thomas and Amari being whatever he is, a tweener. But with Landon Thomas, then you brought in two tight ends. One's a tight end / receiver. So people think he'll be more receiver. One of the reasons he didn't commit to Florida was because he wanted to be a receiver, and Florida wanted him as a tight end. But you got Lofton, you got Williams, you got Landon. Get Brian Courtney and Powers. Again, that's a guy that most of y'all probably hearing for the first time. Yep, most of y'all probably didn't know there was a scholarship tight end on this roster named Jarrell Powers. And I wouldn't blame you because, damn it, the man's never – I don't think he's ever caught a pass. I don't know if he's ever been asked to block it. I don't know if Jarrell Powers has ever touched the football field other than practice. And as far as Brian Courtney goes, at this point, Joe, get him off the football team. I don't want him at linebacker, and I don't want him at tight end. I've seen enough of both. Goodbye. Brian Courtney, go to Virginia. I don't know. I think he's from Virginia. Go play for the Cavaliers or something. We're good. I can't talk myself into Brian Courtney. Not at one point I said, okay, linebacker might be the best move for him. I can't even talk myself into that anymore. Goodbye, Brian Courtney. And again, Jarrell Powers, most of y'all probably are just hearing his name for the first time anyway. Thoughts on them? Keep Armella. I think Armella stays. He's not on my list. Maybe new O-line can develop him. Both can haul ass. We're talking about transfer portal, potential guys. As the portal's already started, and we already have names like Deuce Spann, Dante Anderson, Jackson West, and Byron Turner have declared for the portal. We're talking about potential guys that may hit the portal going in the future. Our tight end room might be the best position group on offense. I think I like my running back room more, but I understand why you would say that, Jonathan, because tight ends, those young tight ends are very promising. Yeah, those tight ends can hit the road. We got good ones with Landon and company. Yep. Emilio Estes. Lucas Simmons. Lucas Simmons is – I hope he stays. I didn't put him on my transfer list, so I hope he stays. Surprise Power is still where 89 and 86 can go. Hey, I'm surprised you knew the number he wore. Or did you look it up? Haven't heard of Jarrell Power since 22. There's a reason for that. Next up on the list, man. Now, this one's an interesting one because he played well down the stretch. However, we're going back to the linebacker room. And again, Randy brought in Omar Graham specifically. And I just don't know. I don't know if Omar, again, I thought he played well. He's going to be one of the linebackers that has the most snaps. He's going to be one of your most experienced backers, right? But again, I say this about all these backers. They didn't recruit him. Most colleges wouldn't have recruited him. Omar Graham was actually a decent player coming out. Matter of fact, I think Omar was a fringe 4-star. I know he wasn't a 4-star. I know that for a fact. But I think he was – I think it's class of 22. I think he was – yeah, here he is right here. Class of 22. I think he was a fringe 4-star. Not really. He was ranked 622. So he falls kind of right in the same boat as Parrish and the other guys, if we're just being bluntly honest. Again, now we have seen him play, and we have seen him get better. But again, and he does have the experience that maybe a veteran, or excuse me, that a coach would value. Like, hey, I didn't recruit you, but you play a lot of football. You kind of know what you're looking at. Does he want to play for another linebacker coach? Again, that guy that was kind of handpicked by Randy Shannon. So does he want to play for that guy? And then, do those guys want him in their system? Wouldn't shock me at all if Omar Graham left. Wouldn't shock me at all. So again, I know he's experienced. I know he's a guy that has improved out the year. A lot of that stuff on defense is gonna come down to what those coaches want. Well, it remains to be seen. It remains to be seen. Dustin Hill hits the portal. I disagree. And I agree with Jonathan. You better not hit the portal after Mike Norvell stuck with you through you were abducted by aliens and you disappeared off the face of the earth for 2.5 years or whatever it was. To hit the portal would be wild. That'd be insane in my opinion. Because no other coach in the country, no other coach at a major D1 program would stick with the kid. If Dustin Hill commits to any other school, he goes to JUCO before ever getting another D1 opportunity. I don't believe Dustin Hill hits the portal at all. Polk, I hate to say this, but do you think next year with our staff we get some 5 stars and keep them? It remains to be seen, Robert. It remains to be seen. I want to think so. But we got to see who they're targeting. They still got to fill out the staff. And then ultimately, right, we got to see how the team looks. If they look drastically improved, there may be a valid shot at that. So we'll see. Omar did play good at the back end of the season. Not saying he didn't. I just don't know if what they're going to be running is going to call for Omar Graham. New scheme, so Omar may not be here. Nebraska guys will big upgrade our D. Best tight end room in the country. Omar Graham's going to look at defensive end. Yes, I know Mike said that. Daryl Jackson can go. We'll see what happens with him. I think Daryl Jackson fits the defense, so I think they will try to keep him. And Daryl Jackson didn't play bad this year, by the way, Joe. Jackson West left. Yes, he did. Caleb Loach took him time to develop, but he continued. Yes, I get that. But that was in the same defense. Again, this isn't an indictment so much on Omar Graham as it is FSU is changing defensive schemes across the board. Linebackers are going to ask to do different things than what they were being asked to. Defensive linemen are going to be actually do different things than what they were being asked to. It's going to be up to what the coaches want to keep them. It's not an apples to apples comparison between Omar Graham and Caleb Loach. This is a apples to pineapples. Omar Graham, maybe in another year of Adam Fuller's defense, would have gotten better. I don't know. So I added this name, and it's not necessarily because, again, that I want him to transfer. It's not that I think he can't play. It's not even that I don't think he fits Gus, because I think he can fit Gus what Gus wants to do. I have a feeling FSU is going to lose a running back. And I already named Jalen Lucas, but in a lot of ways, Lucas can kind of be looked at as a gadget player, not a true running back in the sense. Like Lucas doesn't, I think, take up any snaps from any other major running back players because you can do so many different things with him. Sam Singleton, however, could be an individual as the odd man out. especially when I keep talking about the running back that they just signed, flipped from Georgia, a guy that I think will get immediate playing time once he gets on campus. You know they like Cam Davis. You know Danzy, I think, will fit that Toafili role. I don't know if there's enough carries to go around for a Sam Singleton, assuming you keep Jalen Lucas, who can also fit a Toafili role. Again, I'm not so sure they have enough snaps for Sam Singleton. Not a guy that I want to leave, but again, a guy that I think might just look at a better situation elsewhere where he can be a more focused player in that team's sort of, game plan. I think FSU is kind of running back heavy right now. Even if you don't see it with Cam, like I've said in the past that I don't see it with Cam Davis. I don't think the staff's not going to give up on Cam Davis. So anybody thinking Cam Davis is either going to hit the portal, no. They are not going to. They see it with him, but regardless of what I see or anybody else sees or doesn't see with Cam, they see it with Cam. Cam's not going anywhere. Chroma's going to be, again, an instant guy that's going to get instant play. And then the combination of a Danzy and Lucas, either or both, they feed into that gadget and they can line them up and do other things with them. Where does Sam Singleton kind of fit in the whole running back rotation? I don't know. I like Sam personally. I was hoping he got more opportunities and more carries throughout the year. For whatever reason, he did not. But what I try to do is you got to separate what you like and the players that you want to see. And you just got to look at it from like, okay, who's kind of the odd man out here? I feel like if we're going to lose a running back, I know I put Jalen Lucas on the list earlier, but I think if you're going to lose like a true tailback, I think Sam's the guy that you're gonna lose. I don't think Roydell's going to be here. Everybody's saying Roydell Williams. I don't think Roydell's going to be here anyway. He's a senior. Roydell's not going to be here. So I'm not counting Roydell as in that mix. I'm counting guys that I know is going to potentially be here next year. Sam Singleton being one, and that's why I say he's the odd man out. That's why I'm saying he's the odd man out, right? Because Roydell Williams ain't going to be here. Roydell Williams, it's like people talk about DJU. DJU's not going to be at Florida State next year. He's not going to play quarterback at Florida State. Neither is Roydell Williams. I don't believe Roydell will be on this roster next year. So, Sam Singleton right there. What do y'all think? Williams gone. Williams is not going to be here. Y'all keep saying Williams. Roydell Williams is not going to be here. Get that in your skulls. Sam, Cam. Well, you can say that, but again, they're not giving up on – you can say what you want about Cam Davis. Mike Norvell's not letting Cam Davis go. So that's not going to happen. Cam Davis is going 0 places. I don't think Grady Kelly's gone. I think he's a guy that they can rotate interior of the defense. If you look at Tony White, he liked those big he had those big Caucasian defensive tackles at Nebraska last year. I think Grady Kelly will stay. I like Singleton too, but again, Cam Davis hasn't showed me anything, Pope. He can't seem to be able to find a hole. I get it. And show me anything either. But he's shown Mike whatever else he needs to show him. Mike's not going to give up on Cam Davis. I'm just going to again, I get what y'all are saying. Cam Davis is not going anywhere. Mike Norvell's not letting Cam Davis go anywhere. Yeah, Sam Singleton is fast. And he was good at kickoff. So there's a lot of reasons why you would want to keep him around. Don't get me wrong. Again, if you're going to lose a back, Sam might be the one. Williams didn't impress me. I'm not worried about Williams because he's gone. Cam doesn't make sense to go. Feels like the staff likes him and wants him to be here. Sam has something to sell. I mean, there you go. Tyler said it better than me. Staff likes Cam. They want him there. It's not that the staff doesn't like Sam, but he has something to sell in the portal. That speed that all you guys keep saying, that's what he has to sell. Sam Singleton can go in the portal with his speed and get a team to give him a chance to be the number. Y'all got to think about it from the standpoint of not all of these guys are leaving because they're being told to. Some of these guys are leaving because they want opportunities to be the number one. That's why C.J. Campbell left. You see how he turned out at FAU, right? Same likelihood with a guy like Sam Singleton. At best, he's number 3. And that's at best. He's number 3 on FSU's roster right now. Whether you think he's better than Cam Davis or not, I'm telling you, Cam Davis and Chroma in some order, because Chroma's going to play year 1. Cam, Chroma, Cam, and probably Danzy Lucas in some order there. And then Singleton is in another. That's just the facts of it. But Singleton has speed. He can sell that in the portal and get him not only a spot, but maybe a bag. Tyler hit the nail on the head. I never said I didn't like Cam. Never said I didn't like Cam Davis. I said I don't see it with Cam Davis. Never said I didn't like him. I think Jaylen Brown comes back. If you notice, and I'm almost done with my list, I haven't named a wide receiver because my whole thought process is simple. FSU should want to keep every last one of those young wide receivers on the roster. All of them bring different skill sets. Jaylen Brown, speed, like Elijah Moore, size, Dwayne McCoy, like all of them bring different aspects to the game. All are young and can still grow. I hope they don't lose a single young receiver. DJ, Roydell Benson, all flop for sure. I miss Trayshawn Ward. Well, it is what it is there. Cam and Chroma, and they played not high school, but they played like Pop Warner ball, if I'm not mistaken, together. Yes, Cam and Chroma are friends. Again, Cam's not going anywhere. So anyway, the last guy I got on my list, and I want to say this before I finish the list. I did not put a receiver on the list. However, if FSU does target some portal receivers, which the big target right now from what I hear is the Kentucky receiver. I think Kentucky had 2 receivers at the portal, but one of the Kentucky receivers that FSU should be like the top suitors for. The more receivers they might focus in the portal, the more you might be likely to see a guy or two hit. But personally, like, I can't talk myself into any of them. Like, you can say, oh, Jaylen Brown didn't impress me. Well, it's hard for any of the receivers to impress with what we saw from the offensive line and the quarterback play. Right? And Jaylen Brown brings legit speed that I'm not sure any of the other receivers bring. Hakeem, size and speed. Had some flashes down the stretch when guys actually could get him the ball. We ain't even really seen B.J. Gibson, Camden Fryer, Elijah Moore, right? You're getting Destin Hill back. Destin Hill better not hit the portal after what Mike Norvell did for him. Like I said, had he committed to any other top-notch school in the country, they would have given up on Destin Hill right after he didn't sign, and he would have had to go to JUCO route to ever get a chance at this again. So there's not a young receiver on the roster that I'm like, I want out of here. So, no, I did not put a wide receiver on my list. That doesn't mean we won't have one flip. Again, especially if you add a couple guys in that room, then you will see probably a receiver or two decide, you know what, I'll probably go try myself somewhere else. But as of right now, I don't have any of them. But the last guy on my list, this isn't a name that I enjoyed putting on the list. But again, I got to look at the defense. I got to look what's being ran. And I got to say, does Lamont Green Jr. fit? Now, ultimately, my heart tells me that his dad's not going to let him go anywhere. Ultimately, I don't think Mike Norvell's going to ask him to go anywhere. For the most part, I think one of the reasons he hasn't been seen on the field is just because he's Not big enough yet. But is he ever going to be? That's the question. And again, what is he? Is he a linebacker in this system? He's not big enough to play the edge, obviously. What is Lamont Green Jr. in this new FSU defense? And would it be more beneficial for him to get on the field somewhere else? What are y'all's thoughts on Lamont Green Jr.? No, I don't want to lose Green yet. I hear you. I don't necessarily do either. But if you were, ask yourself, Maximus, I'm Tony White, Lamont Green, all of 229 pounds. What can I do with him? Green can switch. So where is he switching to? Are we talking about now he's a legit true sideline to sideline backer? When he's never done that and he's strictly been a pass rusher? It's not that I'm against the idea. Is it feasible? Is that legit? Like, is that even possible? Prince. I think we lose some young wide receivers after this new class. I think a lot of y'all are very much overrating bringing in this wide receiver class. Other than your boy from UCF, I think, and I get this that Scott 6'7" dude, and I get the other guy I get all of that. I think I would not put a bunch of stock into this wide receiver class. That's just my humble opinion. I'm sure people disagree with that. I'm sure they do. But yeah. We'll see. Never saw Lamont Green play. Did he ever get in? Hank Moody says, can't do nothing. I think we wait for next year's class to replace him. Green switches to blue. Love Green Jr., not just because he's a no-blooded, but once again, would I take him if he was in the portal? Just objectively, it might be better to allocate that roster spot to someone that fits better. Linebacker, tight end. So moving to the offense. I mean, all that stuff sounds good, Prince. I'm just saying, one, the kid has to want to do that. Two, the kid has to have, I don't want to say he has to, but he has to have, well, yeah, he does have, he has to have some, ability to play a tight end. Can he catch the ball? It sounds easy in principle, but you'll be surprised how many defensive linemen, hands are literally got Kyle Morlock hands. Seriously. Good class of wide receivers. It's a decent class. I wouldn't call it, earth-shattering. I think in my opinion, they got one guy who might be able to get snaps for you next year. That's just my humble opinion, though. Now, I agree with Hank. Jit from UCF, I think he's a football player and might be able to see the field early just because he's a football player. He's built the right way. The other guys, I have no – maybe the Scott kid, that 6'7" kid, but I got to see him. So, yeah. Why move in the offense? Would you just get a pure offensive player in the portal? Hakeem's issue is dropping the ball. Still think he's has the greatest potential. 6'3" and above, wide receivers, tight ends, all over the field. Now we just wait for transfers. We do get specifically UCF, Nebraska, and what positions. I really hope McCoy pans out. See him go head-to-head with Jeremiah Smith on ESPN. I know he got the talent. Boggs had 17 for 350 tonight. I hate passing on 6'3", 230. Find somewhere to use Green. I hear you, Maximus. Now, I want you to take what you just said and think about what you just said. Now compare that to what they've been bringing in. You said you hate to pass on 6'3", 230. They're bringing in 6'5", 260. Why move LeGrant Green Jr. to tight end when you have Williams on the roster moving to DN? What do you think about Nigel Kelly? I mean, I know he's in the portal. He actually had a pretty productive year at UCF. I don't know if that's a guy that you spend a block on. Body type probably fits what you want to do. But I think there's going to be a lot of other options other than Nigel Leak. So, I mean, that's 2 straight years now. You go from Miami, portal, UCF 1-year portal. I mean, guys like that. And it's not to knock the guys that continuously move. I kind of have an issue. And this isn't a knock on Nigel Leak, just the – and I get it, right? His is a little different situation because he went to play for Gus or somebody, I'm assuming, and now Gus is gone. So now he's going to – I'll see. Well, interesting to see where he lands up. Maybe he can circle back to Miami. That would be, in my opinion, that might be the best move for him. Try to circle back to Miami, play opposite of Ruben Bain. I think Miami's going to lose Mesidor. I think it might be the best move for him. I did watch the no-go offense. I think Elijah Moore will still be in the plans. I hope so anyway. That's my list, man. I listed a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I listed 20 guys, and I think FSU will have about 20 to 22, 23 guys. I listed 20 guys. I listed 20. They've already had 4 hit. So if all my 20 come true, that's 24. I think that's about the right number of that. Those are the guys that I think that though that's the amount of guys I think will hit the portal. FSU is going to be pretty active. Mike seems pretty adamant that this is a quick turnaround. So yeah, that's my list. What do you guys think? What about any of the guys from Kansas State entering the portal? What about them? So there's certain positions I don't want FSU to jump on right away. So if you notice what's going on in the portal right now, not a lot of caliber O lineman hitting. I think some of those guys might be waiting for whatever reason. I would say wait to see what better O lineman hit. I don't think FSU needs to take any DBs in the portal. I'm not sure why they would. Maybe if you do let a Shaheem Brown walk, then maybe you would maybe want to go get just another veteran guy to replace a Shaheem Brown. That would make a little bit of sense to me. But if there's one position that FSU hasn't struggled in recruiting, it's been DBs. Essentially, you have to trust your DBs, the evaluation that you've had in that DB room. So there's that. UM is falling apart. Miami still can't win the ACC. They say in Boggs broke the Florida State record for most yards in a single game with 368. Previous was 358. What are your thoughts on James Williams? And yeah, I think a lot of people think James Williams is coming. Haven't heard much on Prince. There's a chance that you can land both. I think you get at least one of the two. Williams, I think, being a little bit more likely. Hank says a proven safety, nor corners, though. I can agree with that. If you're going to take a DB, he's got to be a proven safety. I agree you don't necessarily need a corner. You definitely need O-line. You're probably going to retool that entire linebacking room for sure. Yes, you're going to bring in defensive linemen. He says QB if the right player wants in. I would love to highlight that. Because personally, I'm all for investing in the Luke Homahawk at this point. When you burnt his red shirt last year, when I didn't think you needed to, I would have let Brock Glenn finish out the season and gotten Luke Homahawk a head start on next year. But you didn't do that. For whatever reason, you felt it was more worth it to burn his red shirt. You thought it was more valuable for him to play those games, get playing time, and maybe it was. But in my mind, if you go that route, it doesn't make sense to me for you to bring in a transfer quarterback unless it's the right guy. You need to invest in Luke Kromenhoek at this point. You should be everything that you're doing offensively should be all about getting Luke Kromenhoek ready for Alabama game 1. Watching film, whatever, all of it. Again, unless the right guy, not Thomas Castellanos from Boston College, guys. I'm sorry. I know everybody's so enamored with him because he can run. Okay, cool. If that's the case, Jackson Arnold's a better option than that kid. Just telling you what it is. If the right guy wants in, I'm all for it. Other than that, use all that money that you're gonna have to pay for a quarterback. So use all that. Get me some legit offensive linemen. Get me some legit defensive linemen. Retool the linebacking room. You might be ready to cook with something next year. And invest, coach, and Luke Kromenhoek, because that's ultimately what it's about. That's what it's going to be about as far as offensively next year. Luke and a good running game. If we can run the ball, Luke's going to look a lot better if we can run the ball. So there you have it. Codizi said it made no sense to burn Luke's red shirt. Made no fucking sense. I agree. They say they see differently. So we'll see who turns out right. Hopefully they turn out right. I wanted DJ gone after Boston College game. Can we attract big-time portal players with Luke? Can we attract big-time portal players with Luke is the only question. I don't think Luke has it. I don't think individuals are or aren't willing to come here based on Luke Kromenhoek, quite frankly. The portal isn't built that way. The portal is legitimately the highest bidder. If you're going to pay the bag, you'll get the player. The Liberty quarterback, interesting. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying he can't come in and do good things. I don't know, man. No more ACC quarterbacks. Use that money for the Nebraska O-line. They need to play a real spring game next year. No Mickey Mouse shit. Hey, that's falling on deaf ears at this point in time. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Gus changes that and Tony White. Maybe they talk some sense in Norvell and, hey, stop the bullshit. I don't disagree with you, Todd, but I've been calling for that since Mike's been the head coach. And we do the same things every year. Give me good on good. Give me good on good in the spring. You know, not these. I don't know what we be doing. We be, like you said, Mickey Mouse. We be running drills but like Tyler said, don't hold your breath on that. I don't necessarily know if that's going to change. So, yeah, guys, that's all I really have tonight. We did a good 2 hours strong. So, Hank says Mike has to change everything about the way they practice. Did Norvell ever say why he changed? I think that's what he does. I'm assuming that's what he did at Memphis and previous stops. So that's why he does it. Do they stop? Well, they stopped playing music by the end of the year. That was one of the things that came out was they stopped playing music. So we'll see if that's a thing that continues. Are we even having this conversation about a portal QB if Kentron catches the breadbasket touchdown from Luke? He catches that pass, and we ain't even questioning whether to build around Luke. I think it's a little bit deeper than that, Codizi. I think, and I get what you're saying. I think it's a little deeper. I think the problem is we went 2-10, and I'm on the record. 6 wins don't cut it. I know everybody's going to say, well, hey, just get us to a bowl game. Well, not me. 6 wins don't cut it. 7 wins don't cut it. 8 wins, okay, I'm not happy. I need 9 and above to kind of show, oh, like we've actually can quick reset. So I think the reason why we're talking about portal quarterbacks, because a lot of people are saying like they don't think Luke, whether they think he has a good potential or not, is he gonna win you 9+ games next year? Not so much, all this other stuff. So I think that's why they're bringing it up for portal quarterback. I don't know. I think I want to believe that, again, you invest in what you got on this roster and you better make it work. But it is what it is. That's a whole different conversation, Rob, but I hear you. I like Luke. Nervous to hand him the keys as a sophomore next year. It is really important. And I understand being nervous to handing him the keys, actually. I really do. But I guess I'm just you got to cut the line somewhere. Or draw the line, I should say. You got to draw the line somewhere. And you got to figure out what to invest in and what not to invest in terms of the transfer portal. You can't like brand new quarterback, brand new running back, brand new receiver, brand new, like all that can't be out of the portal, right? Luke is who we think he is. He was one of the top 5 quarterbacks in last year's class. He does have potential. He did show flashes. Again, you have to, at some point, invest in that. Coach that. I'm watching teams all around the country play their freshman, sophomore quarterbacks. Dylan Raiola and DJ Lagway and these other guys. Like, I'm watching coaches dummy down the offense, get these guys, like, you get what I'm trying to say? That's kind of really where I'm at with that. Again, unless the right guy comes along, man, you need to invest in Luke Cromahoe. Figure out what he can do, what he can't do, what he likes, what looks he likes, what makes him nervous, what makes him skittish, and design that offense to make him look as good as possible. And obviously a good running game is going to help a ton with that. But when you need him to throw the ball, he should be throwing shit that he feels comfortable throwing. And I don't see why we can't do that when I watch other teams around the country be able to put their young quarterbacks in position to do those things. That's really where I'm at with it. Go all in on paying offensive linemen as much money as they want. Go all in on the defensive linemen. Go all in on maybe one legit portal wide receiver. Go all in on linebackers. I just feel like if you're going on a portal quarterback, that's a third of your budget, half of your budget. Hell, I don't know. But that's a big chunk of your money that could go somewhere else. When you got this guy who was a 5-star on some sites, make that shit, make it work, Mike Norvell. Make it work. And that's what I'll close off with tonight, guys. Because that's how I feel about that. Make Luke Cromahoe work. You're a head football coach. Your job is to coach and develop. Make it work. As always, guys, it's your boy Polk over here on 863 Seminole TV. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you're new. Share the video. And I might do another live for the conference championship night. Haven't really decided yet, but I might do something for y'all. But I'll see y'all again, man. Again, transfer portals in full effect now. FSU closed really well on signing day. I think better than everybody thought. And I hope y'all have a good rest of y'all night. Weekend getting started. It's a Friday night. Saturday morning maybe for some of y'all. And I'll catch y'all again. Stay classy, and we out here. Go Noles.